Life is good. Okay, who can name this year's theme, the theme for this year? Radical spirituality. Oh, I'm so grateful that somebody knew. Yahoo! Now, what radical spirituality means to me is that we are acting and thinking as though the holy books were true. Not just what we call the Bible, but the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the Vedas. Because they all speak of humankind's true nature, which is spiritual. And what happens when people wake up to their true nature. That's what they speak of. That's the theme of those books. And the results of radical spirituality, I have two results. The first one is just that you feel better, life seems to go better, and people around you seem to be more optimistic and freer and kinder and more loving and healthier in all ways. People around you are affected because you're doing your own radical spiritual work. And you will have and witness miracles. Have and witness miracles. That's the result of radical spirituality. I have two to share with you. The first one is the result of prayer that someone requested on our Facebook, on our CSL Facebook member page. So if you are on Facebook and you are a member, then get on this page because people ask for prayers. People talk about, I need this. They talk about classes they're going to. It's very informative. It's a really great, I think, forum, let's put it that way. And someone asked for prayer for their dog. It came in on a Friday, and they said, please pray for my dog because she has eye ulcers, and I don't want her to have surgery on Sunday. That's all we heard. So people prayed. On Monday, she reported, oh my goodness, I'm a true believer in miracles and prayers, everyone. Thank you. We just got a call from the vet, and Emily's right eye is completely healed, and her left eye is almost healed, and we're expecting a full recovery from ulcers at the end of the week. My angel doggy, I'm in shock and gratitude at this. And then she goes on to say later on that the surgery they were going to do on Monday, the ulcers were so bad they were going to remove her dog's eyes. Friday to Monday. Another one that I will share is a prayer practitioner who made a request to other prayer practitioners. We have our own group, and we ask for prayer. I mean, I ask for prayer. Something happens to my horse, I'm on that. I mean, it's like, if my horse doesn't heal, you are not relicensed. I mean it. I'm just... I don't say that. Because that wouldn't be ethical, but sometimes I think it. Because when it comes to my horses, I'm like our dear friend with her dog, Emily. So we asked for prayers, and this particular practitioner asked for prayers for a young family member, a young boy. And what she prayed for is that there was so little chance that this boy would live, she prayed for a peaceful transition. And we all got in, and we were praying, and one miracle happened, and then another miracle happened, and this young person got something very rare, which was there were two organs that were not functioning, and they got 2 organ transplants almost immediately, like at the top of the list, and a right match, which is rare. The boy's now living. It's not like this is my job in this center is to make that stuff normal. My job is to work with us. Myself, our prayer practitioners, it's not my job to do it all. It's not the prayer practitioner's job to do it all. But it's my job to work with us, get it? Us, so that this stuff becomes normal. So that what's been called an awesome abnormality or, ooh, look at that outcome, becomes an awesome normality. That people move from, I know God can do it, to I expect God to do it. See the difference? I want to narrow that gap so that we live, as Ernest Holmes said, in glad anticipation of a greater good. Whether it's for an animal, and I'm telling you, I had a horse at Pilchuck. If you know what Pilchuck is, it's one of the big veterinary hospitals in the Snohomish. On the floor, out. And because I was not willing to do the $20,000 surgery, well, my husband wasn't willing. Anyway, I thought I was saying goodbye to my horse. And I remember putting out the prayer to all of the practitioners, pray for my horse now. I wish they'd told us, because I wouldn't have been so worried. I thought I was going to go pick up a dead horse. Well, no, ashes, and actually. What happened is, half an hour after we left, Starlet sprung up and started eating. And we've never had a problem with her since. This stuff works. And I want to talk about why it works and how we can assist each other in it working. And it doesn't have to just work for us, but to extend it out into the world. So, what's this lesson today for this theme of radical spirituality? It is to stop believing and start expecting. The talk title for today is Faith versus Belief. And faith is what you have an expectation of. In the Bible, it talks a lot about belief. Lots of statements about belief. But there's this one statement in the Old Testament that really makes some sense, which is to draw this all together. It says, as a person believeth in their heart, so is he. He meant they. I'm sorry. I've read it too long. I can't translate the whole Bible and make it gender neutral. But they meant people. What you really think deep down inside, that's what you're going to get. That's what you'll get. Now, we can believe a lot of stuff, but it doesn't work until we expect it. Expectation. And I want to say that that's why I think praying for others works so well. Because, see, I saw my horse. It was hard to believe my horse would get up. The people I emailed, oh, no problem. They didn't see my horse down there. They didn't see that. I didn't know how bad the prognosis was for that dog. I didn't know the prognosis for the child that needed prayers. We didn't know that. And not knowing that, we didn't expect that it would not work out. Do you see why prayers for others can be so powerful and how we could lean into the prayers for others? One of the examples I use, and I know that sounds stupid, it's not going to sound stupid to a woman. So just bear with me here. All of my life, I've hated my hair. Whether it was long or short, no matter what color I made it, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. How many of you can relate? Finally, I went to lunch with one of my friends, and she loved her hair. I said, I want to love my hair. Guess what? I love my hair. It's been 2.5 years, and I love my hair. First time in my life that I remember loving my hair. And because I love my hair loves me back. It doesn't take forever. It just is nice. It says, do you want to go under? We can go under. Before it was like, I want to go under. No. Don't want to. Anyway, does that make sense? Praise God. I mean, she expected it. I didn't. But her expectation overcame my limited belief. I believed in her. That's why Jesus could heal. People couldn't believe that they could just pick up their bed and walk, but they believed that Jesus could believe that they could pick up their bed and walk. I want us to have a culture of us believing in each other and believing in the prayers that we give for each other so that we narrow the gap of what's possible and what's happening. Because amazing things are possible when we do radical spirituality. And I think you all have stories. How many of you have a miracle story? See, it does happen. It happens. Let's make it happen more often. Make it happen more often. Now, here's the formula for moving into expectation. You think a thing. You're first going to have to think a thing. You're going to have to think it and think it. You come here, you're told you're good. You come here and you're told that God is for you, or spirit, or whatever you want to call it, and we don't give it a name. It's just, the big enchilada, whatever. It is for you. You hear it, but you can't just think it and change stuff. Even though the slogan for religious science was change your thinking, change your life, but not so much, because people have changed their thinking and still not changed their life. How many of you have noticed? I mean, that slogan is being used. I watched that slogan being used in all sorts of other arenas. It's like catchy. What a bunch of shit stuff. Because how many of you have changed your thinking and it didn't change? And how many of you have had thoughts you're really grateful did not come about? Thinking has to be thought enough that you can believe. Thinking has to be thought enough so that you can believe. So you think it and you think it and you think it and you start to believe it. When I start to see what people believe, and I wonder, how do they believe that? It's because they're always thinking about that. I mean, I'm running into people that are tossing out ideas that's like, what's that based on? I thought about it, and my neighbor thinks so too. Do you see how thinking about stuff will create a belief? But the belief doesn't move into your heart until you become faithful and you start filling up with faith. Because you entertain the idea over and over again until it becomes a felt reality within yourself. A felt reality within yourself. For instance, many people who come here believe that they deserve to be blessed and are worthy of miracles. Right? Many of you watch because you believe that you deserve to be blessed and you're worthy of miracles. But you don't sometimes recognize that what you really feel in your heart is that you haven't worked hard enough, you really don't deserve it, and I'm not worthy to have it. And besides that, if I have it, other people will be jealous, or I shouldn't have it because other people don't, and there's this other deeper belief, which is running the show. So you can say you want one thing, but you really don't expect that thing because of the undercurrent of other ideas. My job is to continually remind you that God is good and so are you. And that there's a good for you and you ought to have it. And not only is there good for you and you ought to have it, but there's a good for everyone and they ought to have it until you think about it and think about it and think about it, and it moves into your subconscious, and you start to think of it in your heart, and you start to shift your expectation of what's possible, not only for yourself but for the world. That's my job. Now, our job is to continually work on this ourselves, but my job is to be the cheerleader for possibilities. And, I was so uncoordinated, I could never be a cheerleader in high school. So this is my chance. It's like I'm living my fantasy. See, we can believe we will have our prayers answered, but not expect them. See, I think sometimes, like, I would pray that my hair would work, but I didn't expect it to because I knew my hair. You will always know what you truly believe and what you expect by the pattern of your thinking and the actions that you move into. You'll know what you truly expect by how you think and how you act. See, we think thinking starts things, but if you're continually thinking possibility, it's because you expect possibilities. If you're continually thinking it's not going to work out, it's because you really don't believe it'll work out. You expect it to not work out. It's for someone else. Or, God gives, God's sort of like the lottery, and 1 in 5 people will have a partial miracle per year or something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer, but I've not watched a lot of people get excited about what God can do in their life, and I would love for you to get excited about what God could do for your life, in your life. Not for your life, in your life. So, if expectation creates action, I need to give you some examples of that. In the Bible, it tells the story of a widow who had debts. So the creditors were going to take her son to pay the debts. Can I just say, we have advanced. Children are no longer expected to go into slavery to pay their parents' debts. Progress. So she doesn't want to have her son taken away, so she goes to the prophet, and she says, please help me. And he says, well, what do you have in your house? Consciousness. And she said, only a small amount of oil. And he says, okay, so start pouring it out and give it away. She's like, are you kidding? This is all I got. But she had faith in him. She believed that he believed he could do something. So she started pouring the oil, and she had to get a bunch of other vats and other things from her neighbors, jars to pour all this oil. Then she sold the oil, and she paid off her debt and got to keep her son. So that's an illustration of if you really expect a result, you'll take action. Here's another one. If you want a honey, you'll have an empty drawer. A honey. If you want to attract somebody into your life, do you have an empty drawer in your house? Place for a toothbrush? You're looking like... Space in the bathroom? An extra key? Still not getting through? Okay, never mind. Did anyone else get that analogy? Thank you. If you want to travel, you'll have your passport, and it will be up to date. You might even have an account for travel. Now, CSL, so I've got a job, you've got a job, CSL has a job. CSL's job is here to facilitate expectation. So here's some ways that I'd like to facilitate expectation. First of all, we need to, whether it's on the Facebook page or during services, or find a way to put a wall with miracles up, we need to share our miracles. We're CSL. We need to share what is working. If you hear, whether it happens to you or it happens to someone else, when people read that things work out, there's more of an expectation that things can work out. Not a belief. It's like, oh, well, around here, things work out. So why wouldn't it work out? If I reach out, why won't it work out? So that's one thing. The next thing is CSL's job is to share ways we can take action for the future self that we want to be. There was a study by the Templeton Institute or Templeton organization, and they're an organization that is on the earth to support and promote spiritual living. like people, not a religion, but spiritual living. And they said that in the study is that when you have a goal that you want, that's your future self, but too many people acquiesce to their present self instead of supporting their future self. So if they say that they want to exercise more, well, I'll do it tomorrow because today it's cold outside. Instead of seeing themselves running in a marathon, they see themselves on the couch, and they make it okay. That's also called emotional maturity, when we give up a little bit today so that we can have something for tomorrow. So I created a list that you'll pick up on your way out of just ways that you might start preparing for the future that you want so that you can start to expect it. Because action also, expectation creates action, but action increases expectation. They are linked. This isn't the only thing to do. This is just some ideas for you to get started, like, what could I do? What could I do? Under personal growth, take a class, ask for help, ask for prayer, cultivate a hobby. In relationships, reach out to old friends. This is things you can do. Under money, if you're in debt, there's phone apps that you can help to monitor your debt. There were times, not only am I out of debt, I've got lots of money in savings. Why? Because I quit buying things when I had the money. Now when I have the money, I just put it away. And then if I need something, really want something, it's so much there. If I want to buy a car, I will pay cash. Why? Because when I finish paying off a car, what I used to do most of my life is go, now I can go buy a new car. Sorry. But now I don't buy a new car. I just put that money, continue to put the money away. So it just sort of saves up. It saves an interest. Now, I'm not saying do that, but I had to talk to myself, do I really want the new car smell? Or would I rather have money in the bank? New car smell, new car smell. Shut up. You can calm down. There's cans of spray for that. Just... there was a wonderful gentleman who ushers here who didn't have any savings. So if something happened, he was in a pickle. And he started putting $5 away a week. And then it was easy, and he put on more and more and more and more. And he's so proud of his opportunity account now. So proud of it. Just because he started. And pretty soon the expectation is, I have money. Number 3. And we are here to invite you into practice. Now, practice doesn't bring you closer to God, because God can't get any closer. And it won't put you in heaven if you think that heaven's a place besides here and now. But spiritual practice allows you to have more harmonious thoughts and a more heavenly experience. So there are sanghas that are available, and Janelle would love to help you sign up for a sangha. I mean, there's not very many spaces, but those spaces might work for you. And that's where a group of people get together monthly and pray for each other. We have meditation Mondays, every Monday at 7 o'clock, Zoom. No matter where you are, you can meditate with others. There's a free spiritual practice class that's taught by Reverend Kavika every first Sunday of the month, today. And we have prayer circles after every service. And we have them online. So we want to support you in your spiritual practice. The fourth thing that we are here to do is to facilitate expectation of how valuable your developed consciousness is. Not just for yourself or for this community, but for the world. I want you to know how valuable your developed, focused, intentional consciousness is for the betterment of yourself, your family, your friends, your community, and the world. I will give you an example. Actually, I talked about this years and years and years ago. And I love God. I didn't know where to find the story again, and then it showed up. I just, God, I need this story. Here it is. So you'll know how long ago it was when I read this to you. In the 1980s, remember the 80s? Actually, I was sharing this probably in more like the 90s. I was sharing it, but it started out in the 80s. In the 1980s, during the peak of the Lebanon War, an incredible study was conducted. It was hypothesized, based on many previous smaller experiments, that if enough people were connected in meditation simultaneously in a field of peace within, that there would be a radiating influence of peace without, i.e., one that affected the behavior of people in the outer world. It needed to be directed towards an area of conflict. And in the words of John Hilgren, people would wake up and think, you know what, I just don't feel like killing today. About 1,000 people came together, and I just need to do a little aside here. Ernest Holmes, in one of his latest books, the Beverly Hills Lectures, said, if we could get 1,000 people to pray for the same thing in the same way, we could influence the world. But us religious scientists, we like to do things our way. Just give me the tools and I'll build what I want. So we have a whole lot of little things instead of one thing. So isn't it interesting? He said 1,000 people too. So what happened was, about 1,000 people came together for this experiment in Jerusalem, meditating together with an aim of peace in neighboring Lebanon. Scientists charted at the same time progress towards peace. This translated to reduced war deaths, reduced injuries, and the number of bombs being dropped in the location where the meditation was focused. So, during this time they're meditating, what's happening in Lebanon, we must record it. When put through mathematical analysis, the likelihood of these results were due to some, the likelihood of these results, which was happening is peace was more prevalent when they were meditating. And then the likelihood of this being a fluke or a chance were less than 1 in 10,000. To be able to assert that something like this was a certainty that the group meditation prevented war was an incredible finding. So what they did, and this was put out by the University Journal of Conflict Resolution from Yale, it ignited a firestorm in the scientific community. First of all, it took 2 years to publish because the editors had to review it and review it and review it because it was so out there. And then what they did is they tried for 2.5 years to duplicate this process, and they did. For 2.5 years, this was duplicatable in other areas of conflict. Then they say that the chance of that happening, that there's a reduction, and it's just chance. Oh, they're meditating, and there's a reduction of discord and war. The chance of that being just chance was 1 in 10 million. Yeah. Our God is an awesome God. It reigns in the universe with wisdom, power, and grace. Our God is an awesome God. Okay. Then, so what this means is, and I find it so interesting that they had the experiment, they duplicated the experiment for another 2.5 years, and then they just left it on the shelf. I think people become uncomfortable when God starts working. Because it's really comfortable to think, not that it's enjoyable, but it's normal, and what we expect is to be on our own. What if the expectation shifts and that my consciousness has an effect on others? This morning, I'd like to end with us knowing peace and having it radiate out to the Ukraine. But there's so many places that need peace. What if we also, once a month, at the beginning of every month, we have a meditation of peace, and then we let it radiate out? How about Seattle, where crimes are going up, homicides are going up, and people are becoming afraid? What if you continued to do this, that you just gave yourself time to, now it's not pray for peace. It's what they did was they meditated on peace, get it? And then they sent that peace. So they became the vehicle through which God worked. It's not, I'm going to pray and God, you do something. They allowed themselves to be used by God for a purpose greater than themselves. Now, any given Sunday, we have over 500 people watching. Not just, you look around, there's not 500 people here, but when you can count who's on Facebook and live stream, there's 500. So we got half the people. If you would get a buddy, we'd have 1,000. So you'd get a prayer partner and you'd say, would you join me in knowing peace within your heart? And then we're going to share that peace this month with the Ukraine. And see, we are not in our body, our body's in us. The Ukraine is not in a manufactured boundary. The Ukraine is an idea held in the mind of God, and it's all over. Ukrainians are all over. Many of them are now in Poland. But we pray for peace for Ukraine, which is an idea of sovereignty held in the mind of God's freedom. Does that make sense? So who's in? Who will get a buddy? Great. So why not? I mean, and well, we could publish the results. They could sign a treaty tomorrow, and we'd all cheer, and everybody go, yeah, it's just a coincidence. Because that's what they said. That's what the study said. People have a tendency to downgrade the power of God. Well, I'm here personally to upgrade God's power in my life. And if it works, I'm going to tell you about it. And then together, we will expect it to work in our lives and the lives of the people we love. All right, you ready? Let's move into our hearts. Move into your heart and find peace. It is within us. It is within us. It is within us. Because the Christ who showed up in the form of Jesus, or Joshua ben Joseph, said, my peace I leave with you, a peace that passes understanding. Now that peace that passes understanding is not conditioned by conditions. See, we want peace when everything gets peaceful. No, that makes peace an effect. But we're moving into expecting that peace is a cause. Peace is a cause. Peace is a cause. So let's find that peace. Let's breathe into that peace. And let's send that peace to this beautiful divine idea called Ukraine. And everyone involved with it. St. Francis said, "Make me an instrument of thy peace." Ricky Byers sang, "Use me, oh my God. I stand for you, and here I will abide." Let us stand and pray and breathe and be that peace. And share it, directing it to whatever mental concept you have of Ukraine. And this is our work this month. And so it is.